Hello there and welcome to Cansanity. It's a snowy day here in southern Ontario, and so I thought I would get into my kitchen and do some baking and make myself a frittata. So what I like to put on my first layer of in my frittata is oven roasted sliced Yukon Gold potatoes. And so you're going to peel and slice about 1.5 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes. If you don't have a kitchen scale, that's okay. Just get yourself a 4-cup measuring cup and fill it all the way to the top with those sliced potatoes. And now you want to slice them so that they're about 1/4 inch thick. So once they're peeled and sliced, then you're going to get yourself a pan and put down a layer of olive oil, and then layer your potatoes in there, and then put some salt and pepper in with the layers. And then you're going to stick that into an oven that's preheated to 400 degrees. Now I've already done that, so my potatoes are nicely roasted for 30 minutes, and they have some nice brown bits to it, which will be perfect for the frittata. So I like to use a cast iron frying pan when I'm making my frittata, and that's because you want to have something that you can cook some of your ingredients on the top of the stove, and then in a frittata you're then putting it into the oven. So you want to have it, your pan has to be oven safe. And a cast iron pan is excellent if it's seasoned well, because when you cook a frittata in it, if it's seasoned well, then the frittata will come out just beautifully. So one of the layers that you're going to put in this frittata is bacon. And I slice up 8 slices of bacon. And then I cook it in my frying pan. Once it's cooked, then I take the bacon slices out and I put it on a paper towel lined plate so that I can just drain off a little bit of the oil. So once the bacon is out of your frying pan, you want to pour off that extra bacon grease because you don't want to leave that in the pan. It will be just too oily. So I add about 1 tablespoon of the bacon grease back and then just swirl it around so that when I put the potato layer down, it's not going to stick too much to the pan. So that's the prep work there. And now I'm just going to put the frittata together so that you can see how nicely it'll come together, and I'll just explain the quantities of the other ingredients as I put it together. So you're just going to take your potatoes and you're just going to layer them in, and you don't have to worry about too much, you don't have to worry that it has to be done in a certain order. You just want to make sure that you have the potatoes going all the way to the edges of the pan so that you have a nice crust on the bottom of potatoes. And then you want to fill in any spaces that you have so that when you pour your egg in, that you're going to have potatoes all the way to the bottom. So that's done, and you can see that there's a lot of potato in there. That's really good. Once it cooks, it's going to compress a bit. So then you're going to add your bacon, and it's nicely crisped up, so it's easy to handle and sprinkle on those potatoes. Okay, and then you're going to add green onions. Now I like a lot of green onions in my frittata, so I cut up about 1 cup's worth. If I don't use it all, then I'm going to just save it for something that I'm going to prepare in the next day or two. So I just sprinkle on about a generous portion of green onion. I usually do about 1 cup's worth. And then I add about 1/2 of a red pepper that's been sauteed for 10 minutes in olive oil. I like to saute it so that release some of the water in the pepper so that I'm not adding that to my frittata. So then I add that as my next layer. If you're not a fan of peppers, then you could leave this out. You could just, leave it with just the green pepper. And honestly, green onion. If you prefer other vegetables like broccoli or, broccoli would be one thing that I would probably put in here. If you prefer to put a different vegetable in there like broccoli or mushrooms, then feel free to try that with the potatoes. That would be really good with the potatoes and the bacon. So then I put on about a cup's worth of crumbled feta on top, and make sure you get right to the edge. So yeah, I like a lot of feta in my frittata, and I like to use feta cheese because it's a dry cheese, so it doesn't add a lot of extra moisture to your frittata. So then I get my egg mixture ready, and so the eggs, I crack 8 eggs, and I add, and I've already done this, 2.5 tablespoons of milk. And then I just whisk that up, and I've already done that. Then I add about 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Mix that up. I'm just using a fork here. If you have a whisk, great, but it's not necessary. And I just pour that right over top. Don't worry too much if you don't get it quite evenly poured over top of the whole pan, because as it cooks, it'll spread. And then you just cover it up with some tin foil and put it in the oven, in the 400-degree oven, for 20 minutes. And once that's cooked for 20 minutes, then you're going to take the tin foil off and let it cook for another 10 or 15 minutes. And you'll know that the frittata is done by just testing the center, and if it feels firm, then it's done. Now that might have looked like a lot of frittata to be making for just 1 or 2 people, but trust me, when you try a slice of that frittata, you'll want to eat the whole pan. And it's an excellent dish to have as a leftover. You can have it for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner with the salad. And so I hope you try this recipe, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day.